for Raymond's name again. So I put it in. Okay, Raymond.
This is Raymond. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much. All right, so now we're going to start. I was starting to say that we have many teleconferences. I'm just going to make some announcements, Raymond. So we have a lot of benefits to becoming a member of the American Society of Dowsers, not just these teleconferences that are archived and available to people every month, but also we have decades of digests. We have discounts in our bookstore. We put on a wonderful conference every year, and we sometimes have regional conferences as well. So there are a lot of benefits, all of which you get discounts for. So our conference this year is scheduled for the first weekend at Plymouth State in Plymouth, New Hampshire. We have another just waiting to out in California. We're waiting until they have an actual contract before with the college before announcing it. There's many wonderful things going on. So those people who were not able to go on the call, if they're a member, they can go and listen to the recording, or if you want to just hear it again. Okay, so today we're blessed to have Raymond Grace come on. I've titled the term Stretching Our Limits because, to me, what Raymond does is give us an example of how he has stretched his limits and attempted doing many, many things that many of us think, oh, it can't be done or there's nothing you can do. But he's gone ahead and done it. And so this reminds me very much of Roger Bannister, the British runner that was the first man to run a mile in minutes. And up until he did it in 1954, most people thought that the 4-minute mark was impossible to break. Yet, they even thought that the human body couldn't physically go that fast, that it was impossible. You were crazy to even try. That was until Bannister proved everybody wrong. So once he did it, training in his own way and believing that he can do it, he was enabled other runners to quickly duplicate his feat simply because now they had the faith that if somebody else could do it, then maybe they could also. So, Raymond, this is how you amaze people, not just in what you've done, but in you thought to do it and then attempted it. And as a result, not only did you expand your horizons of what could be done through dowsing, but your example continues to room our own self-imposed limitations and expansions. You frequently have said when you had a problem, can I do anything about this? And is there any reason not to? Any other dowsers go through the longer can I, may I, should I, am I ready? So I'd like to start by talking about the mindset, beliefs, and attitude that have helped you accomplish.
Question at the present moment in time. Thank you. Back to you with your question. Father God, would it be in my highest and best interest if I were to take my...
So, Raymond, would you tell us about the mindset, beliefs, and attitude with which you approach dowsing that has helped you be successful?
Okay, now, Roxanne, it's a good thing that we wrote all this down ahead of time. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to participate. I can barely hear you, and then I hear somebody else coming in, so it's difficult at best. But I did, since I've got some notes here to go by, that's going to help. And you want to know about the mindset that I have on it. Well, it's not that I do anything through smarts. It's just that I don't know I can't. And that pretty much sums it up. It's sort of like the bumblebee that doesn't know he can't fly. I mean, according to the law of aerodynamics, from what I have read, it's impossible for a bumblebee to fly, but the bumblebee don't know that. So I kind of operate with the same mentality. If you do nothing, nothing's going to happen. If you do something, something might happen. Do I always know what the outcome is going to be? No, I don't. I just do something and find out what the outcome is going to be. And I do not like to limit myself with other people's belief systems and their limitations. I just don't let things like that bother me at all. Just because someone else has never done it doesn't mean that I can't do it. And then once I do it, I can tell other people how I did it, and then hopefully they can do it too. See, let me say a few more things here, Roxanne. When I first went to a dowsing meeting back in '93 over in Asheville, North Carolina, with the Appalachian Dowsers, I was somewhat impressed, maybe even greatly impressed, because I think these people can get information pretty good here. At the time I was there, I was invited to speak on mind development, because at the time I was a lecturer for the Silva method of mind control. Well, what I learned real quickly is the Dowsers could get information faster than I could, and I was the one supposed to be teaching it. So I think these people have something I need to know. So I started attending dowsing meetings, and that's what got me started. And I'm thinking, okay, these people have got a lot going for them. Now, right here is a statement that I make at about every dowsing conference I have ever spoken at: Canadian Dowsers, American Dowsers, Southwest, wherever they are, all over. I've spoken, I think, about all over U.S. and Canada. And I said, folks, I got some good news and some bad news. The good news, I have found a group of people who are potentially the most powerful people on this planet. And the good news is it's you, the Dowsers. The bad news is you don't seem to have a clue. You limit yourself with what you can do. You have come up with a whole kind of set of rules, and you're just limiting yourself. And I'm not ignoring your rules and getting something done. So go ahead and comment on that if you like.
Well, I think you also have an insatiable curiosity. I think you have a confidence in yourself, and you're not afraid of trying and failing. You also have told me that you don't care about what other people think about you attempting to do something or not. And I suspect you love a challenge and want to push the limits. Is that true?
Well, part of it is, as far as liking a challenge, I really don't look at it from that viewpoint. But as far as caring what other people think, no, ma'am, I just don't care at all. Because I put on my website, on my bio, that I don't own a suit and tie. I'm very proud of that fact. And I have reached 142 countries around the world just with my hillbilly accent and just wearing a pair of blue jeans and cowboy boots and a Stetson hat. Those are my dress clothes. And this is just who I am, and people either like me or they don't. Either way is okay. If they like me, I'll be glad to be friends with them, be nice to them. If they don't like me, they'll stay away from me, and I'll figure I'll win either way. So, no, diplomacy is really not one of my faults. Now, I like to be nice to people, and I spent a lot of time. As a matter of fact, I started out about 6 o'clock this morning doing Skype sessions in Europe. I was on one whenever you called because I got the time mixed up. So I normally go from roughly 6 in the morning to 10:30 at night. Now, I'm not on the phone all the time, but that's the kind of work I do. I work with people kind of around the world. And every now and then, people ask me, well, why did you do this? And I have 3 answers. Sometimes one is sufficient, but I have 3. The first answer is because it needed to be done. The second answer was I could. And the third answer was I wanted to. And there are no other answers. If I see something needs to be done and I can do it and I want to do it, then I'll give it a try. Now, please don't think that I always win. I haven't. But I've won more times than I lost. I look at dowsing and healing and all this stuff sort of like playing poker. The object of the game is to win more than you lose. So as long as you do that, well, you're doing okay. And if you don't do something, nothing's going to change. So whenever the worst you can do is nothing, then go ahead and give it a try. So go ahead, please.
Yeah, well, I also like the fact that you say, is there any reason not to? Can I do anything about this, and is there any reason not to? And I love that attitude. And I think I think what every good teacher does is help others replicate your results. And so one thing you are doing is, besides inspiring us to try and get out there and do things, and without automatically thinking we can't, there's other things that we can learn. For example, if I think about why the types of things that have caused Dowsers not to succeed or replicate, just the opposite. So, there's not being grounded, or not being fully present in their body, or not being in touch with their personal power, which is a big, big thing. Being afraid of other people's opinion, which we already mentioned, and thinking ahead of time that something can't happen before they even try. Now, you told me you have some would add to that list. Would you go on with that?
Well, ma'am, say that last question again. I have some what about that? I missed that one word.
Well, you have also mentioned to me that if they're living and working in a low-energy environment, or they have a fragmented soul, or have been disempowered by different belief systems.
Oh, yes, ma'am, I can talk about that. I just didn't hear you.
Good.
Okay, a number of things. One of the hardest places I've ever tried to douse was in a police department. Why? Because you've got so much skepticism there. Nobody really believes what you're doing, even if you get results. So I decided I probably won't ever try that again. But a person has to have fairly decent energy in order to be accurate and successful. And I have been measuring energy since October of '98. So what's it been? About 22 years. 21 years. And I have my own scale on which I measure it, which I don't even want to try to explain right now. And whenever I'm working on a person or a place, the first thing I do is check their energy level. And a lot of people that are dowsers, healers, so on, they don't have any. I mean, zero. So let me give you for instance right here, on my measuring scale, in measuring in increments of thousands, most pretty decent folks are going to gravitate to an energy level of about 20,000. Now, I can work on them and increase that by tenfold in most cases, and sometimes higher. Now, I say in most cases because you're not going to get the same results with everybody. There's no reason to believe that you will. And that's one of the problems in doing healing work. Somebody says, well, you help someone else get a new gallbladder or whatever. Why can't you do it for me? Well, because you're not them. So human equality does not exist. It's simply something that we've been programmed with. It really doesn't exist. It never has. So don't expect to get the same results with everybody. Now, but back to the healers of why you might not get results. If you, and I have run into this before, of people that tell me they're healers, psychic, sensitives, and all this kind of stuff, and they're living in a haunted house. Now, one of my favorite stories is I had a lady in class one time who practiced feng shui. And she's a very nice person, and she caught on real good. Well, these are just my terminology here, but the high priest of feng shui out in California had gotten sick, had financial problems, his life was falling apart, family was fighting and all that. Well, she got all the dang spooks out of the house, and everything improved, and she got, I guess, promoted to what I would call the high priestess of feng shui in her area. Well, whenever this happens, somebody that's supposed to be an authority on energy is living in a haunted house. There's something wrong with this picture. Bad wrong. But she got it fixed. So I find this quite often, and I'm thinking, oh, why these people don't know how to measure energy? Why don't they know how to fix it? But they don't. So that's why that I started showing people how to get things done. I've got a film called Change Energy, Change Your Life that talks you right through an exorcism of how to do it at a distance. Now, I do think we've got a lot of things easier to do now than they were back when I started. Seems like energy changes, and the higher the energy gets, the more we can accomplish. Last week, I cleared an audience of 15,000 people in Russia for the singer. And I have cleared 4 such audiences in Russia, Ukraine, Spain, and maybe somewhere else since Christmas time. And it's working. This singer said, the crowds have never been this good to me before. They're just wonderful. And I don't think I could have done that 10 years ago. Maybe because I didn't believe I could. I don't know. But that's what I do now. There's various people that maybe they have business meetings, or maybe they're an entertainer or whatever, and I will clean up their audience for them. I'll clean up their business meetings, whatever it happens to be. And see, this is one of the benefits of dowsing is you're not just victims of the elements and the politicians. You can actually do something about this stuff. But back to why it doesn't work for people, because they have limiting beliefs. First off, they don't know they can do it. Second, they may be afraid to do it. Or then maybe they believe it can be done. They're willing to try it, but they don't have the energy to do it. And the reason they don't have the energy, it could be a fragmented soul. And right now, there is an epidemic of this. Now, let me say this. In the 22 years that I have been measuring energy and working with people, I bet there's been at least 15 different, and I will call them energetic epidemics. I actually made a film on that once, of things that were affecting the majority of people. Well, the problem with that film is it was true when it was made, but we got new epidemics now. And that's what happens whenever you film something, whenever you write something. Yeah, it's true when you do it, but 10 years later, things have changed. So right now, I just want to throw these out to you. The 3 major things that I find affecting the majority of people, and I'm talking about real decent people, they have a fragmented soul. Their soul is not in their body, and the spirit of life is not in their body, because life has a spirit, and it's just gone. Well, when people have this problem, they're not going to be able to dowse very well. They won't be accurate, and they won't be able to get much done. Why? They just don't have the energy to do it. So there is hardly a day goes by, or maybe none, but why I find this problem affecting people all across the country. And the people I work with are pretty decent folks. Why? Because I won't work with anybody less. So those are some of the major problems. Another thing, if your polarity is off, out of balance, your dowsing is probably not going to be right. And I found that by my own experience. I was dowsing something one morning, and I knew I was getting the wrong answer. And I couldn't figure out, well, what's wrong with me? So I just asked and said, check your polarity. It was only about 20% balanced. Once I balanced it, my dowsing changed, and I was right. So go ahead and ask me anything you want. I just try to cover as many things as possible.
All right. When you, right now, we have so much fear going on about the coronavirus that people, that fear, whether it's fear, this happens to be the current fear, but what has been going on, if you listen to the news or you listen, you go on the internet sites, is you find so much that is going to upset you, concern you, make you worried. That's one thing. And the second thing is our lives now are just spending so much time in front of a screen. We're not out in the sun. We're not exercising. We're not engaging with people the way we used to. And so we're all getting unbalanced from one thing or another. And one thing I like is that you neutralize mass consciousness. You neutralize the detrimental effect of those in your area. You mentioned in one thing I saw, one of your videos, that the people are affected by the consciousness that are in an 8-mile radius. Well, now with the internet, that 8 Mile has extended globally around the world, and we're being impacted by everything we see on the internet or the news or the radio.
Well, I totally agree with you, but the smart thing is don't watch TV. Don't listen to stuff that's detrimental to you. I mean,
but
look,
you also tell us
people as a whole just ain't real smart. They do all kind of things to screw up their lives, and they always have. If you stop and think about it, human beings have spent most of their time and all their money trying to kill one another for centuries. They've cut down the trees, they poisoned the water, they poisoned the air. I mean, really, the human race ain't real smart. Just think about it. You got technology, but you've destroyed the earth. And so how do I solve this problem? First off, I don't watch TV. God, it's been years since I listened to a radio, because Thomas Jefferson said, it is better to be uninformed than misinformed. And I know they're lying to me, so I'm not going to listen to them. It's that simple. I mean, you know, I got a lot of simple answers, real simple. And I talk to only people that are intelligent.
Mm-hmm. And
I like to help people. I made a career out of it. I've basically devoted my life to it. But I'm particular who I talk to. So I don't talk to people bitch, whine, and complain all the time. I will say, okay, be quiet, and I'll tell you what's wrong with you, and I'll do my best to help you. But if you continue, then you're on your own. And I won't talk to them again.
Mm-hmm. You have gone.
See, we have control over our life, but we have to take control. And if you don't take control of your life, someone else will control it for you. It's just that simple.
I do think we all have to follow your example and that injunction to neutralize the detrimental effect of mass consciousness.
Well, no, man, we can do that, and I do that for people. Well, let's put it this way. I do that for as many people as I work on in a day, because they've about all got the problem. Now,
right.
I want to elaborate on that just a little bit.
Good.
I may be wrong on this 8-mile radius, and I don't really want to get into the details of how to measure it for 8 miles, because that's not too important. At first it was 6 miles, then it went to 7, then it went to 8. So my knowledge hadn't increased since then. However, I found a case recently in Paris, France, where the person was affected by someone of her religion who was being attacked in New York City. And when I neutralized the negative effect of the people in New York City being attacked, her energy went up like a rocket, and she could feel it. The only reason that I believe in what I do is because we get physical results. If we don't get results, I don't believe it. So that really woke me up. This is somebody that's being affected by people that she didn't even know 3,000 miles away on the other side of the ocean. Mm-hmm. Now, how did I figure out that? I won't get into all those details.
Well, we first of all, people have cords to them. They have connections. Either they're friends, they know each other, they're colleagues, or they're in the same group of one form or another. So let's say that you said this woman was in the same religious group with somebody in New York City. So that could have been a link. So we have these links. They come from all kinds of places. And their thoughts and emotions is like a telephone wire. It can back up. It can go both ways. You can project a thought or an energy out, and you can get the backwash. Do you have any comment about that?
Yeah, one thing here. I think I missed the thought, and I regret that I'm not hearing any better than I do, but it's just what it is. So, as near as I can tell, I agree with what you said.
Okay. Now, there was also one thing I've noticed is that when you send healing to someone or remove entities, and it appears that you go ahead and just do it without asking permission of them. However, you do also say, is there any reason not to? So I have, when we were talking, I've told you that, well, if you see your neighbor's house being broken into, you're not going to wait to try to get a hold of the neighbor. You're just going to call the cops. Can you talk to us a little bit on your attitude of clearing entities or with just going ahead and doing it?
I'll be glad to. That's one of the things that the Dowsers believe in, and I don't believe in at all, and that is you have to ask permission before you do anything. And I see no reason at all to believe that. Now, do I try to go out and work with people that I think wouldn't want me to help them? No. Actually, I kind of make people ask. If someone contacts me and says, hey, will you work on my brother-in-law? Well, tell him to send me an email, and I'll talk to him. Call him back or something. Well, he don't believe in what you do. Well, he's got a problem, so I guess I better let him keep it. So, no, I won't work on him. I do not work on people that don't believe in what I'm doing, but here there are exceptions. You can depossess someone, remove entities, whatever you might want to call it, from someone whether they like it or not. So people at doubting conferences finally stopped telling me this stuff. They used to say, oh, you can't do this for anybody unless you have their permission. I said, do you really think that I go out and track down the serial rapists and the serial killers and ask if it's okay if I change their behavior? I mean, that idea is ridiculous. So, no, I don't ask anybody. I don't see any reason to. Another thing in cleaning up schools. This may shock you, but border to border, coast to coast, when I'm doing a class, I ask how many of you people got kids or grandkids in school, and the hands go up. So I start checking the energy of the schools. On an average, about 30% of the teachers in schools are possessed. Now, that does not mean they're evil, mean, or dangerous. It's usually a very mild type of possession. Like maybe they got a bad attitude or a health problem or something, but usually bad attitude. And it's probably not their fault. They don't have a clue this stuff exists. But what will happen when you eliminate these things, you very seldom find the kids in high school possessed. That occasionally maybe, but not very often. It's usually the teachers or the building itself. But it always improves. I mean, I have had many, many thank you letters, notes, emails, whatever, because the kids' school improved. Well, of course it did. We got rid of the things that caused the problems. Now, you can say, well, the parents asked for help. Well, yeah, I guess they did, but the teachers didn't. The principal didn't. Do I need their permission? Why, no. When my kid first went to school, she didn't go to school until she was 14 years old. But I kept her at home. So I went to school to meet the people, and I said, I want this to be a positive experience for both you and us. So I'm going to clean up your school. There's not anything you can do about it. I hope you like it. And they looked at me kind of dumbfounded, and I shook hands with them and left. Well, whenever it's a few years later, I guess, I think 3 years later maybe, she brings a school teacher home with her. And I asked the lady, I said, ma'am, how long have you been teaching there? She's about 5 years. I said, well, is anything any different now than it was then? She said, oh, it's not even like the same place. I said, well, when did it change? She said, about 3 years ago. And then all at once the lights went on. And she said, April come to school 3 years ago. What did you do? I said, I did exactly what I told you folks I was going to do. I changed the energy in the school. Every parent in America could do this if they would.
Now, what were the things when you say about you changed the energy? Tell us more.
Well, pretty simple. I got rid of the entities that were affecting the teachers. I don't think there were any affecting the kids. It wasn't a bad place to start with now. And it was mostly negative thought forms, negative emotions, just kind of simple stuff. Now, there are some schools out there that are bad. Now, let me give you an example. Several years ago, and I'm going to say probably 15, I was teaching a class in Binghamton, New York. And there was a lady there whose son went to Cornell University. And she was telling me about how many kids up there were killing themselves. They were jumping off of a bridge. Well, it didn't make sense to me until I looked into it, and there's a bunch of dang demons hanging around that bridge. Well, I got rid of them. And the lady told me later, well, the kids have stopped jumping off the bridge now. No kidding. So then, about, I'd say 10 years later, or maybe less, 8 to 10, there was a gentleman in class one day, he and his wife, that he was a professor at Cornell. And I said, do you remember when the kids were jumping off the bridge and killing themselves? He said, yeah, I remember that. He said, but it stopped. Said, we didn't know what stopped it. I said, I do. I got rid of the demons. You see, we've cleaned up roadways. I mean, lots of roadways where there's wrecks. And when you get rid of the spooks or demons, now there are not as many demons as people think they are. Do I find them? Yes. But whenever you find those critters, it's a really bad situation. Like down here in East Tennessee, there was a lady told me one day, said there has been so many wrecks at this one place on the road very near my house. And when I'm saying wrecks, I mean blood and guts. I checked it out. There's 4 demons there. I got rid of them. That's probably been 5 years ago. There hadn't been a wreck since. And I try to tell people this, and I swear it goes right over their heads. I am amazed, Roxanne. I'm thoroughly amazed at the human race. I say, folks, I can show you, and I do show them, how you can clear up roadways wherever you drive every day, where there's been wrecks. And I do this everywhere I teach a class. I said, give me some locations on the roads where you have to drive every day or at risk. I clean them up. I may go back 3, 4, 5 years later. There hadn't been a wreck since.
Okay, so what are some of the statements you make?
I get rid of the dang spooks. That's what causes the wrecks. But you would think that whenever you give people simple information like this and then do it for them, that it would catch on. But it hasn't.
Well, I think there's other things that are added to it. For example, if there has been an accident, the trauma, the fear, the grief, the physical pain, that has been there, or maybe even the anger and annoyance of the people.
You are exactly right, and I call these the negative emotions of the place, and I got to turn those into love.
Right. Okay. So now what else?
Just first thing, yeah.
Okay.
Then you do that, and what I call negative energetic patterns. Whenever there's a car wreck, it creates an energetic pattern on the road that has a tendency to attract another car wreck.
Yes.
Now, please let me clarify. Not every place that have wrecks is haunted. Don't think that's what I'm saying, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the worst ones are. If you got fender benders, a lot of wrecks are caused by carelessness or bad road conditions or whatever. But where you've got wrecks consistently, where people get burned to death in the cars or mangled or whatever, you can bet there's a major problem there.
Well,
how do I know this? Well, I've been doing it for years.
Right. So where Dowsers get screwed up is that they don't think to ask, or they're unaware of other aspect to inquire if it's there, and if it's there, on doing something about it and knowing how to. So,
you know what they'll do? They'll write me and they'll say, I don't feel capable. And my answer is, as long as you don't do anything, you ain't never going to feel capable. Why do I feel capable? Because I did it and I won. And until you do something and win, you'll never feel capable. And I'm not afraid to do it.
Right.
I'm not afraid of losing. I've lost before, my goodness. I haven't won everything I ever tried to do, but at least I tried to do it.
So one thing I did was I went through one of your 2 books, Techniques That Work for Me, and I started writing down some of the things that you were doing as I went through. And that's to remind me of things that can be done, or things to ask to for example, clear the mass consciousness, neutralize this, scramble that, fill it with, the positive opposite. So these people need to set up a possible list or chart or checklist of things to go through to so that they think to ask. So, for example, if you were going to go for to drill a well, not only you have to know it's how deep you're going to have to go. Is it going to have potable water? Is it going to have so many gallons per minute? Is it going to serve all the needs of the people, etc.? So you have a checklist in your mind if it's not on paper. And until people become as conscious as you are in doing certain things, or I am in my area of expertise, it's really, really helpful to have a checklist of things to go through. Have you ever created a checklist, for example, in any of your classes?
You and me need to get better acquainted. I've been passing out checklists in my classes for 20 years.
Okay.
It's about a 40-item list. It takes me a good 8 hours to go through it, explain it, and ask questions.
Okay.
And,
so
and matter of fact, I'm revising it now for this next year, assuming we have any classes, where I can make it even simpler for people.
Okay. Have you published that checklist?
No, and I'm not going to. That's what people pay me to come to class to learn.
Smart.
Look, I'm a businessman.
Okay.
I ain't sure you know who you're talking to. You're talking to a redneck that really don't give too much of a damn about what the world thinks. I work to help people, but they got to do something to help themselves.
Right.
I tried giving stuff away. It don't work. If people don't pay for it, they think it ain't worth nothing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We were another thing that I think causes people to get stuck, other than not thinking that they can do it or not even being aware what to ask, are that they get very tied up in the emotions of other people. So many Dowsers are empaths, which means that they feel the thoughts and emotions of others. And personally, I know this helps me if I'm working with a client. I can tune into what's going on with them. But it has its problems, because then you feel the energy, you can feel the emotions of people that are not your clients, who don't want your help. In fact, they're giving you their 2 cents from a distance. And so do you have any advice on how people could turn something on or off?
Yes, ma'am. And it's the same answer that I have when I've cleaned up water for 30 Italian families without going to Italy. And I got to tell that story.
Okay.
I was doing a class over in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the reason why I was there was because that's where the international airport was, and 30 Italian folks came over. And I said, I really appreciate you coming all the way over here to visit me and spending 3 days with me, and I want to do something for you. So whenever you get home, there will be good tasting water run out of your faucet. I've heard that you didn't have good water over there. That's why you drank so much wine. So I'm gonna see if I can give you some good water. Well, I didn't know they were going to do this, but at break time they got on their cell phones and sent a text back to Italy saying drink the water. It was already good. And people say, how did you do that? I said, I can answer you in one word: intent. How do I get rid of intent? How do I do anything? Intent. See, you got to do your thinking at the alpha brain frequency, and you got to practice. Every star athlete has to practice a long time. Somebody put a figure of 10,000 hours on it. Well, I've probably spent way more than 10,000 hours doing dowsing. Why? Well, I get a lot of practice, see, because a lot of people know me and they got problems. So they contact me, and I do my best to help solve their problems. That gives me practice. Now I get a lot of problems sometimes that I don't have a clue how to fix. So I think, okay, I got to think about this. So I reach the alpha brain frequency, and I kind of look up in the air, and I say, okay, what do I do now? And I usually get an answer. Not always, but usually. And that's how I get a lot of my information. You see, it's what I call tapping into the source, or universal intelligence, or universal consciousness, or whatever word you might want to put on it. Because whenever you can synchronize your brain with that frequency, then you can get information that is not readily available. and it's coming in real handy.
Okay, so you studied NLP and Silva mind control, which is hypnosis, and I'm a hypnotherapist, and I understand that going into alpha or going into self-hypnosis, deep meditation, et cetera.
But about your thing about an empath, I personally think it's a curse rather than a blessing, because as I wrote, I sent you some notes there, I don't want to feel someone's sadness and pain and grief. It's not going to help me to help them, and I don't want to feel it. You see, I don't show sympathy to people. I try to show kindness, but I have removed "I'm sorry" from my vocabulary. And if I bump into somebody or something, I'll say, "Excuse me." I'll try to be polite and nice to people, but I make it very clear, and I tell clients this: I will not let your problems become mine. And that has saved me so many problems.
Right. Tell me, people that have created some sort of public, they're in the public eye. There are people that love them and people that really don't like them. And going back on this idea of the energy, the thoughts and emotions of whatever they are, positive, negative, neutral, going through the psychic airways, what helps you to stay grounded and very strong within yourself that you could tell people that may have trouble with that?
Okay, Roxanne, somewhere you lost me.
Okay.
How can I stay grounded in all this?
What helps you?
Last 3 words, sir.
What protects you from psychic attack? And,
what protects me? Okay, ma'am, I got that. Yes, sometimes I'm not getting everything you're saying there. Well, I'll tell you what I think it is. I think it's attitude. You see, there's a very thin line, if at all, between a person's belief system and their attitude. And their belief system is the dominant factor that controls everything that happens to us. And I come to realize that years ago. And let me tell you how. I have learned, there's a film out there now, and you folks that's listening out there can watch it. Actually, it's a little slideshow. I've got a YouTube channel, I think. I think my brother set up one for me. See, I don't know much about computers, and I don't speak computer language. But look on there, and it's called Winners and Losers.
Yeah,
and it's got a slideshow on there with some good scenery and my little grandkids and a few things like that. Why? Because it's easier for me to make a slideshow than it is to film something. Sometimes I got last year's work. I couldn't hardly remember what I was supposed to say. I would get the first line done, and I couldn't remember the second one. And I think, well, I can sit here and read off what I'm doing recording and just put a slideshow up, and that's a heck of a lot easier. So we made one like that. But then I got some short films out there too. But back to this thing on winners and losers. That's all about the attitude. Now let's get back to what you were asking me here, because I get sidetracked sometimes. What protects me? Well, I learned as a kid that I'll say it right in a minute. Pessimists are seldom disappointed, because I grew up in a culture that was pretty good people, but they weren't good thinkers, and they always used a term, and they overused it, and it was called "I'm afraid." I'm afraid I'm going to catch a cold. I'm afraid that my old car is going to break down. I'm afraid it's going to rain. I'm afraid it's not going to rain. They put "I'm afraid" into their vocabulary on almost everything. I'm afraid I'm going to burn the biscuits. All kind of things like that. Well, they created a lot of fear. See, your head listens while your mouth is talking. Actually, your whole body listens while your mouth is talking. And go beyond that, your body listens while somebody else is talking. So that's why I started staying away from people that were negative. I did not want the problems. So this protection is an attitude. The people that are afraid there's going to be a demon jump out from behind a bush and grab them are going to live in fear. I'm going to crucify the damn demon. I'm not afraid of the suckers. And it's attitude. Yeah, it's not diplomatic. God, I've accomplished far more with my blunt attitude than I ever did with trying to diplomacy. So it's an attitude, and frankly, I'm proud of it. I don't ever apologize for who I am and what I do. Why? Because I help a lot of people, and I win a lot of times.
Yeah,
and it's the attitude that will protect you. If you think something's going to get you, it probably will.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Some people have noticed that you don't have things like prayer or protection, but not everybody is you. So until somebody can get to that place, what do you think will help them?
Well, I don't know if I can answer that question because I can only tell you what helped me.
Okay.
And that's about the best I can do. You're right. Everybody is not me, and I'm not them. So all I can say is that stop being afraid. Now, fear is an energy, and I honestly believe that you can use doubting and neutralize fear and turn it into courage. Anytime you neutralize anything, and I use the term neutralize, which means taken away from. Well, don't let that energy go to waste. Turn it into something that will benefit you. So also push yourself out of your comfort zone. Do something that you might be normally afraid to do, but yet it's safe. Nobody's going to hit you on the head for it. You're not going to get arrested, anything like that. It just might be something that you wouldn't normally do. Because I have read that fear of public speaking is one of the greatest fears of the human race. Well, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, people ask me, what was it like to talk on coast to coast with over 5 million people listening? And I couldn't tell any difference. I sit here in my living room by the phone here in a little old cabin here in the Appalachian Mountains. I didn't know how many people out there were listening. It didn't matter. I was just talking to one person. So it's all this stuff is in people's minds. So I've talked at, God, I don't know, all kind of places, but I don't have any fear of public speaking. I'm not a real eloquent speaker by any means. And a lot of people are far more polished than I am and can make a better speech. But I just stand up and say what I think needs to be said. But you get that way by practicing. It don't matter what you do. If you're good at it, you had to practice to get that way. And I didn't have a whole lot going for me, really, as a kid. Come up in very modest means, backwoods here. I got out of high school, never went to college. Went to work. I was a bricklayer and a construction foreman for years. And finally decided the world wasn't any better off because I built buildings. I wanted to do something beneficial. So I quit the only thing I knew how to make a living at and started in something when I didn't know what I was doing, but I managed to succeed at it, probably just out of determination. I mean, I started a whole new career at 45 years old. And, I mean, I don't mind telling you, I didn't know what I was doing, but I think, well, I'm going to give it a try. I'll learn as I go along.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that willingness to try, and that is, I think, good advice for all of us.
Well, yeah, and don't let other people limit what you can do. You be the judge of what you can do. Don't let somebody else determine that for you. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing I can tell people, and look, I like to empower people. That just makes my day. And I have 99% of my clients are female. And I don't know why. I really don't. But probably because I help to empower them. And they say, well, nobody else ever talked to me like you did. Well, all I was trying to do was be nice to you and help you and make you believe in yourself. That's all I've ever tried to do to anybody. I like to empower them. I like to empower little kids. Really most anybody, and I don't want to try to empower bullies and people that are abusive. I don't want anything to do with them anyway. I want to go back here. Let's go back to whenever I discovered dowsing. I think this right here is something that would really change the world And these people are wandering around here with dowsing rods finding buried water veins. Well, they are buried water lines. Well, they were probably there, but nobody dug them up to prove it. And I'm thinking, well, this art is not real useful if you don't offer physical evidence of what you're doing. So I started out working with things, talking to whoever would share any information with me, and I never really spent any time trying to find buried water pipes because I think there's so much else that we can do with this. And then I learned a little bit about exorcism, and then I just kept pushing the limits, and then I found out, well, we can clean up roadways, and then I set a goal about 33 years ago to see if I could clean up water in the world. I didn't have a clue how I was going to do it, but I just set a goal. So the first thing you got to do is set a goal. Without a goal, you're probably never going to get very far. So you got to have something to work towards, and you got to have a way to kind of measure your progress. Like, okay, I haven't got there yet, but I'm further than where I used to be. And then if you got somebody to work with, where you can encourage each other, that's a help. But I didn't have anybody much like that. The only help I got was every now and then going to housing conferences. Walt Woods was always good to me, and I really appreciated him. And he shared a lot of information with me, and he really helped me an awful lot. Actually, dowsing did not come easy for me. And I always tell people to come to classes, folks, if your pendulum don't move, don't worry about it. It took me 3 years to get a pendulum to move. I was just too hard-headed to quit. I think, I'm going to make this thing work one of these days. And you know what happened? I was with Walt out at Ozark Research, and Walt's pendulum was going around and around and around, and mine was moving a quarter of an inch. And I looked at mine, and I said, hey, I want you to work like Walt's. And by golly, it did. And, you know, now in class, I tell people, well, tell your pendulum to work like mine, and most of the time it will. So if you've got a standard to go by, then, you know, kind of bring the person up to that standard. So I kind of brought myself up to Walt's standard. Mm-hmm. And I've used the same principle to help other people.
Right.
So, but what I said was, you know, I'm going to promote dowsing to the world. I didn't have a clue how I was going to do it. But one thing led to another. And as of 7 years ago, and it may have changed since then, I don't know, but 7 years ago, we'd reached 142 countries. And we just kind of a simple operation, really. We got a few films. We got a website, RaymondGrace.us, and my foundation site, RaymondGraceFoundation.org. It's got some pictures on there where we have college kids cleaning up a river. We've sponsored a heirloom seed saver program at the county library. We sponsored river cleanup here with another organization. We try to look around, see what we can do to help things out that nobody else is really doing much about.
And that's something that Dowsers can they can formulate groups, take on a project, and do the same thing.
Well, yeah. It's no real major thing, really. I spent a fair amount of money on part of it, but we had a gardening project one time for the 4-H kids in the county. So go to the foundation site. You see a few of the things that we're doing. I got my kid April. She's helping me out now, and she's a whole lot better working with kids than I am, and she's got far more diplomacy than I have. So I let her handle that. She's writing my sending out my newsletter for me now. And if you folks didn't get this newsletter, just write and ask for it. Or write me. My address is Raymon, Raymon. Don't put a D on my name now. It's Raymon, Raymon at RaymondGrace.us. I'll repeat that, Raymon at RaymondGrace.us. And say, send me your newsletter, and I'll send it to you, and then I'll tell you to go to my website and sign up for it. We just sent it out, I think it was yesterday. And I've got a couple of stories. I got a story in there about bullying, and I thought maybe parents could use to help their kids.
Well, actually, we're kind of running out of time, so there are some things that I really need to cover.
Okay.
We had, everyone's asking, of course, about both 5G and coronavirus. And so you and I both had watched the same video by Dr. Thomas Cowan. It's on coronavirus caused by 5G. And a lot of people are very, very concerned about the health problems that are reported with 5G. Some are even saying that 5G was part of why people were so quick to get sick in Wuhan, because they had fully automated it. And so that I will post the name of that video later. Basically, they're saying that 5G so weakens the immune system that you're prone to basically any other problem that might be out there, such as a virus. Now, you have, tell us about neutralizing the detrimental electric currents of any kind, whether it's dirty electricity or cell phones or cell phone towers. Please tell us.
Yes, ma'am, I believe we have. Now, part of it I've got evidence of, part of it I don't, so let me just be as honest as I can on there. Bill Nolan, who was president of the American Dowsers some years back, was teaching a dowsing class at his place, and he invited me to come up, and he had us go out there and find what he called a noxious energy zone. Well, we all found it, and he said, show me what caused it. Well, we didn't know, or at least I didn't know, and I don't think anybody else did. Now, after a while, he said, over there it is on the light pole across the street. It's that transformer. It sends out an energy this far, and you're picking up the edge of it. And I said, okay, that's interesting. So after a while, I said, Bill, let's get the group together and go out there and find that noxious energy zone again. He said, oh, we've already found it. I said, yeah, I know. Let's go find it again. He said, well, there's no need to. I said, Bill, just humor me. He said, well, you take the class out there and find it. I said, okay. I said, come on, folks, let's go out here. Now, I want you to find that noxious energy zone again. Well, they couldn't find it. Well, here come Bill with his dowsing rod. I'll show you where it is. He couldn't find it either. He looked at me and he said, what did you do with it? I neutralized the negative effects of the transformer. Well, I figured I got a rather simple way of thinking. If I can do that, I can neutralize smart meters. I can neutralize 5G. I can neutralize anything else. And you folks can too. I didn't corner the market on this stuff, folks. I'm really very willing to share this stuff with you. You don't really need me. You can do it. You just got to believe you can do it.
So you have said that the human mind has the power to transform energy and then to transform it into something else.
Yes, ma'am. Like I say, don't ever let bad energy go to waste. Turn it into something else.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't have time to get into this, but I believe in turning things into prosperity. I'm a believer in prosperity, and I do my best to help other people achieve it. So do I think you can, I remember I took jealousy one time. Somebody was real jealous of me. I took that and turned it into prosperity. Sold darn near everything I had on my book table.
Good for you.
Yeah. So right here, let me give you a truth principle real quick. All things are composed of energy. The intelligent human mind can change energy. Energy is impressed upon matter, and energy follows thought. Everything I do is based on those three principles.
Well, if we take the thing about the coronavirus, I think the first thing to do is to clear away the fear, because fear depresses your immune system and makes it very difficult to fight off anything. So one part is to clear the fear. Now, can you then neutralize the negative effect of a virus? Can you change the programming of that virus, of what it might have been programmed to do? That's assuming, no, every cell is programmed to do something. So can you change the programming of a cell, of a virus, of a fungus, of a bacteria, for example?
Well, in a word, I believe yes. Can I prove this? No. Do I have some evidence of things? Yes. We've had people with various types of ailments and work on them. Matter of fact, yesterday was a case like that, and all I did, I was talking to a fellow, and he was a very high-level Marine, and he told me about his back having a problem. So the next day, actually as of today, he sent me an email. Did you work on me? And I wrote back and said, well, I was hoping you'd notice. All it took was a thought, an intent. I'd really like to help that guy get rid of the back pain. See, this is not complicated stuff, folks. Sometimes all it takes is a thought. So I can't tell you that everybody out there can get rid of a virus. I can't even tell you that I can do it. I can say there ain't but one way to find out. Try it and see. That's my standard answer for anybody that says, can I do this? That's how I feel. And sometimes I can, sometimes not.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about the intention, I mean, this has been duplicated over and over again by Lynn McTaggart's Power of 8 group, where she breaks people up into groups of 8 people, and they hold the intention very steadily for like 10 minutes or so to help person. And the interesting thing she found was the people in the group that had positive intention for someone else were themselves blessed. So as you have sent positive intention to others, have you noticed a boomerang positive effect upon yourself?
No, I'm not going to say again. Have I noticed a numerous positive effect on something? I missed the word there.
A noticeable positive effect upon yourself.
I'm still missing something.
Okay.
Are you talking about on a group of people?
Any. You are consistently working with people all day long. And
okay, let me say this, Roxanne. I've never consistently worked with a group of people. I'm a loner. I pretty much work alone. I've got two backups.
You misunderstand me.
Okay.
You as an individual are getting phone calls for help all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you are working all throughout the day on helping each of those individuals.
Yes, ma'am.
Lynn McTaggart has found that the people who are working to help someone else through positive intention are being blessed themselves in ways they weren't even expecting.
Okay,
have you
I got
found
this
that,
right now. You're asking me if I'm being blessed because I'm helping some other people. Is that the question?
Yeah. Have you noticed anything like that?
Well, ma'am, I'm older than dirt and tougher than nails. And I'm still working, run chainsaws, climb a mountain, drive tractor, do farm work. I've already outlived most of my classmates I graduated school with. So I guess something worked. But, yeah, I believe that if you are good to people and do what you can to make the world a better place, that it'll come. I think it comes back to us. But then again, I think that it might do that because we believe it will. Mm-hmm. And I just I talk to the spirit world every now and then, and I say, look, if you want something done here, you better give me some help. That's what other people call praying. That's just the way I do it. And it usually works. Because I don't know any other way to answer that question. And I might not have really understood the question correctly, but I answered you the best I could.
Well, let's go back to the COVID-19, the coronavirus. Some of the people writing into me want to know, can we or should we do something about the coronavirus? And they want to know what they can do.
What they can do? Well, first thing is, I don't worry about it. Because energy follows thought. I don't give much thought to it. Yeah, there's a virus out there, but, I got an email the other day that in America there's been more people killed by knowing Hillary Clinton than have been killed by the coronavirus. I don't know if that's true or not. Somebody sent me an email saying that. I didn't bother to argue with it. But there's, 50 to 60,000 people a year die of the flu, and nobody even bats an eye. And now you've got a few, maybe even a few thousand people worldwide here, and they've shut down the restaurants and everything else in schools. The biggest problem is not the virus; it's dang news media. That's what's causing the panic.
I'll agree with you on that. But let's say whether it's this particular virus is blown out of proportion, nonetheless, there are viruses around. So, do you have a suggestion on how you can kill off the virus or boost your immune system? Well, the simplest thing that I can do, and I actually did this from a clearing list. I operate a
a clearing every weekend for the people to sign up for it, and you can learn a little about that if you want to. But what I did the other morning, I took the energy of all the fear and the panic and turned it into a healthy immune system for the people. And when I always measure the energy of the group before I start, when I finish, that was the highest energy group I've ever done. And I don't know if that was what did it or not, but it really got a much better reading on the energy when I got done. So can you do that? Yes.
Yeah.
Just remember, folks, everything is energy, including the virus. And you, with an intelligent mind, have the ability to change energy.
Mm-hmm.
So the worst thing you can do is fear it. So turn fear into courage or love or peace or happiness or fun or something better. Most anything better than fear.
Well,
so
do
I have a cure for the world? No, I really don't. Do I have a cure for you folks listening? Yeah, stop watching TV. Go out and take a walk in the woods. Go fishing. Do something outside in nature. You ain't never going to get any smarter watching TV, and you're going to get sicker. So go do something else. And think of health instead of fear and disease. So if you're asking me, am I afraid of it? No. So I don't see a reason to be.
Right. So 1, we get rid of the fear. 2, we strengthen our life force, our frequency, we boost the immune system. But can you do something about the virus itself? Can you scramble the frequency
the virus
of it?
probably has a spirit. Now, this is what I do if it's a spirit of cancer or whatever. But now, let me be very honest. I don't know how effective this is because I don't keep records. Once I finish talking to somebody, I start with somebody else, and I don't write anything down. All this is coming from a memory, and my memory's got some holes in it. But generally speaking, a virus or a disease has a spirit. Well, this is a terminology that I use. I'm not saying you have to use the same words. It's what I do. I banish the spirit, deactivate the life force, and scramble the frequency of it and turn it into water. It's the same thing I did to arsenic. That's where I got this idea, Roxanne. It was that well up there in Canada that was full of arsenic and asked me to clean it up. Well, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But I looked up in the air and I said, hey, what do I do about this? And it said, scramble the frequency of arsenic and turn it into water. So I did. About a month later, I got an email saying, no, I got a phone call saying 90% of the arsenic was gone. I said, okay, have it tested again. I'll work on it again. The next time it was tested, there was hardly any arsenic there. Now, look, let's go one more. This goes back about 7, 8 years ago. A friend of mine about 100 miles away here called me. He said, I got a problem. I said, what is the problem? He said, well, I saw some weeds coming up in my alfalfa field, and I got 20 acres of alfalfa here, which he would mow and bale for his cows. He said, I called the farm supply place to come out and spray them, or to spray the weeds. He said the truck driver picked up the wrong jug of chemicals and came out and sprayed it with Roundup. And I said, well, how long is it going to take to get over this? He said, a year. I got to plow the ground up, reseed it, start all over. Well, he was going to lose a whole hay crop for a year. That's enough to bankrupt a small farmer. I said, don't plow it up just yet. Give me 2 days, and let me see what I can do. Well, 2 days later, I never heard from him. I did not hear from him for 30 days. He sent me a picture of the days they cut alfalfa, the best crop they ever had. Instead of cutting 3 crops a year off that land, they cut 5 crops that was taller than normal. So he about doubled his hay crop. What did I do? I scrambled the frequency of the Roundup and turned it into fertilizer. Every scientist on this planet knows that can't be done. They went to school to learn that can't be done. I never went to school. I just did it.
Okay, so can you scramble the frequency of the coronavirus and then turn it into immune enhancing or turn it into health and
I just said turn it into water.
Okay.
I mean, might turn it into something else if you want. I usually just turn things into water. Mm-hmm. Can you do that? Probably if you believe you can.
Okay. Well,
You
the
can do it
thing
for
is,
yourself
you
and your
took our
family. I don't think you can save the world.
Okay. In this case, you were working with a specific field. So
Yes, ma'am.
if you're dealing with something like the coronavirus, which is global, maybe you have to focus on a smaller area to affect the
I
virus.
think you should focus on yourself and your family.
Okay. All right. All right. Now, one of the people who wrote in said they're very concerned about the financial problems with the schools and businesses closing as a result of this.
Yes, ma'am.
situation.
I don't even get into that, Roxanne.
Okay.
I can't help all that.
All right.
I mean, I just don't know. I just don't want to get into it.
All right. Let's
So,
talk about
yeah,
something
I know
else
they
then.
can problem out there, but
All
do
right.
I have the answer to solve the world's problems? No.
Okay.
I'm trying to help the people that are listening here tonight,
well,
and that's as far as I want to go tonight.
all right.
But what else? Let me say this. Why don't you program you some water to strengthen your immune system and making you immune to any kind of bugs or flu or germs or whatever?
Oh, that's
Just
a good
look
idea.
at this as, keep it simple. It's you're getting too complicated with it. Keep it simple.
Okay.
So no, I cannot cause the interest rates to go back up and the stock market to go up and all that. Please, folks, don't even write me asking stuff like this, because I'm going to hit the delete button.
Well, your idea of taking water and and giving it a frequency to boost your immune system, that then becomes homeopathic. It becomes a homeopathic remedy.
I'm not even sure I know how to pronounce that word, but I don't know what the name for it is, but it's just, to me, it's just programming water to do a job.
Exactly.
And the job is to strengthen your immune system.
Right. Okay. So we can do that. That would be a simple solution to a lot of this.
There is an old ancient law called Occam's razor that goes something like this. When seeking the solution for a problem, look not for the most complicated, but for the simplest.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There are some other questions, but I don't think we can take them on the call. Let me see what else is here. Is there something?
I can tell another story if you need one.
Yeah, go ahead. You had another story.
Okay.
You wanted to tell me
I've been
anyway.
weird all my life. When I was about 15, I had a thought one day. I remember I was out rabbit hunting at the time, and I think I'd like to go back in time and prevent people from being tortured, because it's always bothered me the way some people have been treated. Maybe that's how I got into this stuff of having my own private war on human traffickers and trying to stop abuse and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I spent a heck of a lot of time doing that kind of stuff. But what happened, I was doing a class up in Binghamton, New York, or at least close there. This is way back out there in the mountains. And I was starting to leave, and there was a very polite lady come up to me and wanted if I'd talk to her on the phone. I said, well, yeah, just send me an email and your phone number and tell me what you want to talk about. Well, I got the email one day, and it was the worst one I've ever gotten in my life. It was a story of torture and abuse and starvation and beatings. And I read the email, and I was so mad I was shaking all over, and I picked up the phone and I called her, and she started telling me, and I'm going to greatly condense this. She started telling me about being beaten with a belt every day, and I just whipped and starved and all that. And then she got to the point of saying that her mom's sadistic boyfriend picked her up when she was 6 years old and set her naked on a hot stove. And she says, I was 6 years old, said I'm 43 now, and for 37 years I wake up every night with nightmares. I wake up screaming. I have not had a good night's sleep in 37 years. I have hurt 24 hours a day, and there's 15 scars on my butt where I was set on that hot stove. And, well, I didn't let her finish, really, because I already read the email. About the time when she got to the story of and he picked me up. All at once she stopped and she started crying. And she says, the pain is going away. And I said, well, that's good, but I can't talk to you anymore right now. I said, I got to calm down. I said, I ain't been this mad in years. I said, I got to calm down here, but whenever I calm down enough to talk to you and have a decent conversation, I'll call you back. When I called her back, she said, about all the pain's gone. The next day I got an email. I overslept this morning. 30 days later, I got an email, and she was actually on a radio show that I was doing. The talk show host recorded her, and so she could tell the story herself. Bottom line is she had overslept every morning since I worked on her. All the pain was gone, and listen to this, all 15 scars on her butt had disappeared.
That is remarkable.
And what did I do? I went back in time and prevented it from happening.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
So that's one of my best. I think I'm more proud of that story than about anything else ever done.
Mhm. Yeah. So I also believe that you can go back in time. I know that one thing that happens as soon as you do that is if you change the story, and that's timeline therapy, which is the form of NLP, the moment you go back in time and you change the history of what happened, you're also changing your emotions about it. And many times it's the emotion or the judgment that was made about that incident that is precisely keeping you tied to the negative consequences.
You might be right. I just can't relate to that kind of terminology. What I did, I pulled out my knife and stuck in the guy's heart.
Would you tell the people the story of what you did with the human traffickers in Myrtle Beach?
I'd be glad to. I got a friend, Benny Pig, down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and this goes back, I think it was maybe 8 years in August, and Benny called me, and he said, I got a problem down here. Would you help me with it? And I said, well, yeah, be glad to. What's the problem? He said, well, said every year kids come down here, college kids, high school kids, and said some of them don't ever make it back home. He said, they've been girls disappearing down here for years. And I said, well, didn't know that. He said, well, 12 disappeared this year. Now, I think this would have been 8 years this past August. I'm not sure, but I think that's it. I lose track of time. And he said, I found out what's going on. He said, I think what they do is they find a girl at a bar, maybe 2 or 3 girls, whatever, and these fellas in the human trafficking business, they'll be cleaned up with aftershave on and, looking okay. I picked somebody that could get girls' attention, and said one of them gets her attention, doesn't put something in her drink, so she gets a little woozy, and they offered to take her out to her car, but said she don't ever get to her car. He said, I found a little canal down here where they can get a small boat through and a place to park. And he said, they bring them girls down here and put them in a boat. He said, you can't file a missing person report down here until they've been gone for 24 hours. He said, in 24 hours, they're on a boat heading for the Middle East. And he said, these girls will never see the parents again. Parents are never going to see the girls. He said, will you help me? And I said, of course I'll help you. Well, I was telling this story in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia one time. Had about 70 people in the audience, and I kind of sized them up. I kind of figured what was going to happen. But I thought, well, they need to know. So I got that far, and they said, well, what did you do? And because what had happened, I said, and at the time it'd been, I guess, maybe 6 or 7 years. I said, according to my friend Benny, there hasn't been a girl disappeared since. Well, he was in my class this last August over in North Carolina, and I asked him, I said, now, Benny, is this still true? He says, as far as I know, the police have not had a report on a missing girl since you did that, and it's been, I think, 7 or 8 years. So people said, well, what did you do? And I said, well, okay, I'm going to tell you, but now, if don't bat your eyes, because if you do, you're going to miss it. I said, first thing I did, I created me a thought form that represented the human traffickers. And I said, I gave him a title. I gave this thought form a title of "You're the Human Trafficker." So I then used that thought form to depossess all the human traffickers within that whole area down there. And they had, I think it's 4 demons, and I don't remember how many spooks. And then I took away all of their slave trading archetypes, torture archetypes, abusive archetypes, and all this kind of stuff from them. And then I reached and got my belt knife and I made a slash through the air. And there was dead silence. And finally one woman said, "Well, what did you do?" I said, "Well, ma'am, you must have batted your eyes. You missed it." So to the others, "What did you do?" I said, "I stuck a knife in his heart." And then, "Well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you pray for him? Why didn't you send them peace and love and all this?" I said, "Folks, this is the way it is. Lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way." And I just turned and walked off the stage.
Well,
that's going to be my answer when people ask me, "Why do you do it another way?" Because the way I'm doing it works.
Right. So you can do this actually with any instance of
say again,
of evil.
Please. Well, I think so.
Now, okay. So you were making the thought form of the human traffickers in that area or in general?
No, just in that area. Yes, ma'am. That's all.
Okay. Okay. So do you have to then, if you're going to try to correct something like this, do you have to focus on one area so it doesn't become? Do you lose energy, for example?
Well, I would think so, because I have not yet been able to change the whole world. I mean, I would if I could, but I just ain't been able to do it yet. But, man, I keep practicing. Maybe I'll get there one of these days. But right now, I've got to kind of focus on a locale.
So if you have a problem of evil or really, really something bad going on, you create a thought form of that type of behavior and then clear the negative thoughts that are, or consciousness that's underneath it, clear any entities that are involved with it, and cancel it, kill it, whatever. Am I missing something? Do I have all the pieces?
Well, let me say it again. It's easier that way. First off, find out if there's any demons. And when you deal with human traffickers, there's usually demons. Now, if you're dealing with a town drunk, you're not going to deal with demons. Dealing with pure evil, yeah, you're probably going to find them. So what I do with them, I turn them into love. Make me sound like a flower child and does a lot of damage to my hitman reputation, but it works. So I found out other people could relate to that a little bit easier than some of the other things I was doing. So, I turn demons into love, get rid of the negative entities. I've got how to do all this stuff in my DVD called Change Energy, Change Your Life. I talk you step by step through an exorcism. You may want to get one and listen to it about 15 times.
Mm-hmm.
Then do that. Then I take away all the archetypes. Archetype is a trait or a characteristic that affects a person's behavior. So I took away all of them I could think of. And then to sum it up, I used the word abusive archetypes. And then I created me a thought form. I just created an image of a man right in front of me. And I pulled out my knife and stuck it in his heart.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for that.
That's probably going to send shockwave through the white light phase, but so be it.
You're right. Okay. On this call, we are not going to open it up to questions because we've already gone before. This is why I asked. We had 100 people maximum on the call. I don't know how many were turned away because we only allow 100 on it. There are some people that asked questions that did not get answered, but Raymond has answered some of them to me privately. I'll send you an email, and if there's something else, you can contact Raymond directly.
Well,
would you repeat your contact information, Raymond?
Now, if you will, if you folks send me an email, put it in as few words as possible, because there's an awful lot of people out there that need help, and I get to as many of you as I can. If you write me a polite email, I'll send you a polite response. If you ask me why I didn't do it some other way, I'll tell you to follow directions. What was you want me to repeat? My address? It's Raymon,
yes.
Raymon, at RaymondGrace.us. And my website's RaymondGrace.us.
And you also have the Raymond Grace Foundation.
Yeah, and I got a foundation site, RaymondGraceFoundation.org. And if you want to watch some of the videos I've got, just go to Raymond Grace channel. I think there's one of those out there somewhere.
On YouTube.
And there's a bunch of free videos out there. You're
and
welcome.
Your products, your books, and other videos are on which site?
Yeah, they're on the regular RaymondGrace.us. But the free videos are out there, folks. I just made a bunch and gave them away because I thought people needed them. So just go out, feel free to watch them, share them with your friends, and do whatever you can do with them to make your life better. That's what they're for.
Well, I want to thank you very much for being on. We had, as you said, our maximum that we could hold on the call. And so thank you so much, Raymond.
Well, I want to thank you for the opportunity. I really do. I wish I could have heard you a little better, but we got by pretty good. And I didn't say everything I meant to say, but we run out of time. But that's okay. I really appreciate the opportunity. And if I can do you a favor, and you holler back at me. I know I had a conversation with you the other day. So if you want to talk again, let me know, and I'll do what I can for you.
Thank you so much.
All right, the rest of you folks, I appreciate you tuning in. And y'all have a good evening.
Okay. I'm going to turn off the recording. Thank you.